All right, you want it? You got it. Good news is the best news. Adidas has jumped in the game, finding their first NIL deal with the high school player Special K. The game is the game, and it's always going to be the same. Special K, 16-year-old, gets an NIL deal from Adidas. I knew they were coming. This is the WNBA Grassroots. They're getting them younger, they're locking them in, and things are changing. Who's leading up the Adidas women's basketball? That's going to be Candace Parker. That's right. The game is the game, and the game hasn't changed. It always starts with the grassroots. You want it? You got it. Adidas jumps in the game. Special K signs an historic NIL deal. Adidas going to put the stamp on Special K. The deal is done. This is the number one player in the country, 16 years old. The game has changed. The age is getting younger. The NILs are locking them up, and Adidas gets their first one. Welcome to the party, Adidas. It is what it is. Folks, I got it for you, and I'm going to tell it just like it is. Adidas signs its first NIL deal. The women's grassroots You got Nike in the game with the EIBL, and now Adidas is coming back to the game. And they are going to get this one done. And folks, this is going to get really interesting because you got a 16-year-old. So that's how far down they're going. And, as me and Joe always talk, next step's going to be a 15-year-old. Next step's going to be a 14-year-old. And you're going to keep dropping on down the line. And this one's special, got great handles, and really knows how to play the game, right? And she gets worked out, a lot of times that she's always in the gym. And for this one here is going to turn out to be a special one. They got her listed 16-year-old as a generational talent. Kaleena Smith exhibits exceptional court vision, making smart decisions under pressure. Crafty ball handling allows her to navigate defense, effectively incredible shooter, standout range, displaying accuracy from various distance on the floor, create scoring opportunities for herself and other teammates. This player brings a dynamic and strategic element to the game of women's basketball. Number one player in her class. Okay, so who's stepping into this, and who, as you make this move, you got to understand Candace Parker, right? Because Candace Parker is the head of Adidas women's basketball. That's why Candace made the statement, hey, we're gonna make the WNBA pay more money, right? Because you got another backer, right? And Candace Parker's gonna be over there with the Unrivaled League. So there's a lot of stuff that's going down and shaking down. The landscape of women's basketball is officially changing. Adidas stumps in there, signs their first NIL deal. Adidas had not signed a deal with anyone, right? So you got to put that thing in perspective, but they take Special K. And when you look at a player like Special K, you got to understand the three stripes, they're coming in heavy and they're going to come in hard. I understand how they do it. I was with Adidas prior, and a lot of movement is going on, but you may see Adidas jump back, and a lot of people are going to return with Adidas because at the end of the day, they just getting it done. But when you talk about a high school player that's coming to the deck, 16 years old, that means they're in the game. Now, I'll tell you what really sets this apart, right? Because you got Candace Parker. Now you got someone sitting at the head of the table, understands the game of the women's basketball, played in the WNBA, got it done night in and night out, right? So, but now it's time. The landscape's changing, and Candace Parker stepping in and saying, look, here we go. This is what we got to do, and we got to do it now. Obviously, you got the Nike EYBL. I always told you about that with the Nike League and how they're doing it. Okay, they're already in there, but you can see that. You see the three stripes on Candace Parker there. So she's an Adidas person, right? Been with them, done it, knows the game about it, right? So now you're going to have another player in the game. So you already got Nike, right? You got Nike's been sitting there, and Nike's a WNBA partner. So I was always wondering, well, you got this Unrivaled League, right? And when you got Unrivaled, you got to understand, somebody's got to put a stamp on Unrivaled, right? And my bet that the stamp will be the three stripes. Okay, Money Mike's going to put it out to you that way. I've seen this before. And if it's not the three stripes, I wonder who it could be. But if Candace Parker is the head of Adidas women's basketball, okay, that's called getting it done, right? And you got Unrivaled. So everything's got to match up. Okay, you got sponsors on the WNBA side. Well, you got to have sponsors on the Unrivaled side. You can't do it any other way. And this is a simple form of corporate competition. This is where I was telling everybody that the league is going to be bigger than 3-on-3, okay? Because now you can also take this. Let me tell you what Unrivaled can do. Because it's really, at some point, it can turn into a pro-am. It could turn into where you're going to have these ladies now that you're going to get back into sponsorships. So when I had my travel team, Showtime Hoops Travel, we were under Adidas, right? So that's how that works. And there's a multitude of ways of working it. Because at the end of the day, to play the game and to go and play travel ball, I mean, like I said, it's costing you about $30,000-$40,000 a year because you got to take your team on approximately 4 to 5 exposure recruiting events. So the game has changed now. Unrivaled. Candace Parker said the other day, we're going to force it to make the WNBA play fair salaries. And Nike, there's Nike and Adidas are no strangers to each other, right? They go at it. They've been going at it. They've been pouring money in for years. And guess what? I told you Adidas making a strong comeback. I looked at their stock share. They are moving in the right direction. So it's a new day. You got 100%. But this young lady here, first NIL deal with a girls' high school player. Her name is Kaleena Smith, okay? And she is a women's college basketball prospect and lands a historic NIL deal at 16 years old. And they're just going to keep going further and further down the line. And that's where I go with my guy, Joe Keller. Adidas, he was Adidas, now it's Nike, but it's the junior phenom, right? So you're going to get there. The grassroots is going just like the boys. We're going to go lower and lower in age because now you got something that the players are going to tie into, and you got a brand, a big brand standing behind Special K. This one's really going to shake itself through. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, folks. At the end of the day, we also got to do what we got to do. And that's the way the game is played. That's the way the game works. It's WNBA. It's no different from the NBA, right? Because you got this thing. Move over, Caitlin Clark. Adidas is baking on the next phenom, right? But they're not going to stop there, folks. Adidas knows this business very well, right? And I told you, heard Sonny Vaccaro started out with Nike. Next, he was at Adidas, and then he went over to Reebok. And you got New Balance and Puma going to sit out, and they're not going to stand on their heels because they're not going to let them have the whole pie. This is the way the women's grassroots basketball works. You get them younger, and it doesn't matter where you play, Division I, Division II, Division III. That really doesn't matter. If you could play, you could play, right? So that's why I got a big target on HBCU, right? Because the HBCU, they got a lot of players, and you got to look at that. I was looking at the Player of the Year from Howard Bison over there, and it looks good. Was on a injury, but the game is coming back, and starting out looking at who's the top players, who's going to get the ranking. Everything is changing, but here's what's going to go down. Adidas and Nike, they about to go head to head. That's the way the game works. It's always been that way. You can't have them all. One will sign with Nike, one will sign with Adidas. Angel Reese has already moved in with Reebok. Okay, so look, these guys are getting ready to battle it out. These some heavyweights, okay, that have hit the women's basketball game. And when Adidas signs its first NIL, folks, NIL's been out for a minute. Now they got a target on the back of certain players they want. And what did I tell you women's grassroots basketball was about, right? It's about pro basketball development. So what are they doing? Candace Parker, head of Adidas, right? She's making the bet that Special K will be able to walk in to the Unrivaled League, okay, or the WNBA. It's going to be up in the air to see which one it is. But it's the same game that's always been played, folks. And I just try to get ahead of it so I'll know what's coming. And this one I saw a mile away. I said, where's Adidas? Well, now I know. And who kicked that in? Candace Parker. Candace Parker made a bold statement. She said, hey, I will make the WNBA pay fair salaries. Now, you're dealing with the heavyweight. This ain't no lightweight here. Candace Parker, TNT. Oh, talk about it, folks. And the deal is the deal because she could sit there with Shaq, Charles Barkley. She could chop it up with the best of them, right? But they didn't move forward. Special K, welcome to Adidas. You've earned it. I checked out your film, you's a baller. And that's the way the game is played. Another generational talent. I told you they coming. And there's a whole lot of talent out there. And when you go get a 16-year-old, look out. The game is the game. The game is not going to change. Special K, first NIL, Adidas takes it. And guess what? The three stripes, they roll heavy, folks. I'm just going to tell you. The three stripes roll really heavy. And what I'm going to tell you here, don't be fooled. Arrival's got a whole lot more they're going to roll out. And it ain't going to be that easy. So when you get in this game, you got to make sure that you got what you got and you need what you need. Because only the cream is going to rise to the top. And I'll tell you right now, if Candace Parker's got her hand in it and she's the head of Adidas women's basketball, the deal is done. The deal is done. So here's what I want you to do. You sit back, relax, I'll bring it to you. But this is a big timer. And I've seen the film. She looks good. But it is what it is. The WNBA and Unrivaled, let the war begin. And don't forget about Reebok, Puma, and Adidas. because they're going to get in the game too. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. We are powered up by fanatics, and we are jumping for joy. We are Three Stripes, man. We love Adidas. That's who we had on Showtime Hoops. The game is a game, and it's never going to change. All things are possible to those who believe.